husband storyteller here. I thought what I'd do is continue on my own story. My heart stood still. We left part 1 where Joel had left the Walkman and headphones hanging from the handle of Matt's locker with an attached post reading, "For Matt, play me." A few moments later, Joel is scrawling in the sand with a piece of stick. We follow his feet as it meanders across the sand. The line runs for some distance, and then Joel kneels down and scratches something in the sand with his finger. He whispers, to nobody in particular, "In life, there are threads that connect us to one another, friends and brothers, a cousin or a lover. Some are tied tightly, some snap away, some are as dull and worn, yet some are as bright as the day." Joel stands and admires his handiwork. He returns back to the tent and flops down on his knee and opens the flap and freezes at the sight ahead of him. Shelley sits cross-legged on Joel's sleeping bag while drinking wine straight from a bottle, her face defiant and deadpan. "Shelley, who did you expect, Joel? Miss Piggy?" Joel gives her a strange smile. "You're so busted, Joel," says Shelley. Shelley gets on her knees slowly, capping the bottle of Plonk, and throws it down on the sleeping bag. Joel scratches the back of his head nervously. "You know, Joel, I'm quite pissed off with you." Shelley moves in nose to nose for a second, keeping her eyes fixed on his. "But I understand why you lied." Joel looks down as if his mother is telling him off. "Close your eyes, Joel." Joel looks up. "Why?" "Because I said so. Now promise me, no peeking." Joel resigns with a smile. "Okay, I promise." Joel turns around and covers his eyes with his other hand, giggling at the game. Behind him, Shelley unbuttons her top, removes her bra, exposing her milky white breasts. She swigs another mouthful of drink, uncomposing herself with an exhale. "Okay, Buster, you can open them now." Joel uncovers his eyes and turns. His giggling dies at the sight. The silence is deafening. Shelley shuffles closer. "I understand you now, Joel. But we all get scared. Even me." She presses her open mouth to his, her tongue darting into his, while slowly placing his hands on her breasts. Joe goes along with it for a few moments, but then pulls away, stepping back. Shelley's sultry smile disappears without a trace, like a flame doused by water. "What is it, Joel? What's wrong?" Joel looks at her with sad, sorrowful eyes. I can't." "Why? Is it my breath?" Joel shakes his head and looks down to the ground. "For God's sake, Joel, why can't you communicate? What's wrong with you?" Shelley shakes him with growing rage. How dare he do this to her? "I'm so sorry, Shelley. This is too much for Joel." He flees the tent, leaving Shelley alone. The moonlight is bright and bathes the whole empty beach in its milky glow. Frantically, Joel runs down the direction of the sea aimlessly, his sobs coming out in sharp, short bursts. "Joel!" Shelley shouts in the distance. Joel sees a small boat from earlier that now lies beached on the low tide. He quickly climbs inside and lies down, curling up like a fetus. In the tent, Shelley stands on the beach. Nearby to the tent, shouting Joel's name repeatedly, but there's no response. She then slumps down inside and sobs as she gathers her clothes. Joel is lying on his back staring up. Up above, he can see the stars and the beautiful clear night sky. A majestic moonlit cloud floats by with the whistle of a gentle wind. His eyes open and close as he fights his tiredness, but finally they're no longer open. Sleep beckons. The next morning, it's a beautiful sunrise, and the boat is no longer beached. It's now lying in the still, reflective sea. Footsteps shuffle as Matt's sneakers come into sight and walk past the lifeguard's board. He approaches the door to the staff room and then sees the Walkman, which hangs on the doorknob with a note reading, "For Matt, play me." Matt looks puzzled and takes the Walkman. His multicoloured wristband with engraved words, "End homophobia." His fingers depress the play button, the starting of the hiss and click of the tape hits. Matt frowns in concentration. Joel's voice appears, sad and ghostly, on the headphones. "I've watched you from afar for what seems like forever." Joel's eyes open. The shadows of gliding seagulls fall over him from above. He sits up sleepily and panics when he sees the boat is floating in water. He looks around frantic as the water laps the side of the boat. Joel sees Matt walking along the beach and ducks his head back down in the boat with fear. Meanwhile, Matt follows the line on the sand. Will you see the lines? Will you notice that they're etched purposely? He follows the line as it meanders on and on. Meanwhile, Joel lifts its head back up and smiles. He remembers what happened yesterday. Matt tilting the teenage girl's head back, nipping her nose, breathing into her open mouth, pressing her chest repeatedly, counting under his breath over and over again. The smile grows as Joe looks out at the water. Meanwhile, Matt is steeped in concentration. His train is still following the line marked in the sand. Joel's voice continues. There are so many things I want to say, but no number of words could ever be enough. I would do anything just to let you know how I feel. Joel is now sitting with his eyes closed, hugging the edges of the boat. He breathes in deeply. He then opens his eyes and stares at the distant figure of Matt. His eyes are calm. His fear has gone. Matt turns his back, oblivious to Joel, as he jumps in the water with a splash and disappears beneath the surface. Joel can't swim. His head rises for a second. His arms swish around frantically, desperately. Meanwhile, Matt is still oblivious, listening to the voice of Joel. Strange to feel that in my 16 years of life, I have been dead. Letters can be rearranged, words can be erased, but feelings, they last forever. I've been lying on a feather bed of lies, staying out of the sun. A montage of images, of fridge magnet letters, spell MMUMIYGA. Joel and Matt are locked in an embrace, kissing passionately on the beach. The yellow kite soars in the summer sky. Joel Joel's mind starts to lose those images. Darkness beckons. Joel falls still, stretches out his arms. Sunbeams dance peacefully below the surface of the sea. The silhouette of Joel's limp body glides motionless, as if gliding through thin air, his skinny white arms outstretched. I only took one look at you. That's all I meant to do. But then, my heart stood still. But I've never felt so alive. Joel descends lower and lower. His shaggy hair and baggy t-shirt sway in the current. His wide eyes are blue and angelic. His lips curled into a slight smile. Matt's feet stop at the end of the line, where a message was once scrawled. The tide washes over it softly, having erased it forever. Matt stands alone on the beach.